First, a general comment about attaching your frame and rail to a wall. There are many ways to accomplish this task. The best way to attach anything to a wall is to ensure it is anchored to a stud within a wall. For aesthetic reasons, that's not always possible. Perhaps you wish to attach a rail where a stud does not exist, or locating studs accurately is a more difficult task than you wish to undertake. My goal is to provide you with the frame and rail system. How you attach your frames and rails to the wall is a matter I leave up to you. However, for those of you who are looking for the strongest and easiest way I have found, I include easy anchors with every order should you wish to use this method. In this video, I explain how to install frames and rails using these anchors. If you're mechanically inclined, toggle bolts should be nothing new to you, and the first portion of this video should largely be a review. If you're not familiar with tools and the procedure in this video strikes you as difficult in any way, I suggest you find someone to help you install your frames and rails. I can't be responsible for problems which arise during installation. With that understood, what I present here is just one installation method I have found extremely successful. In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of installing a typical frame and rail like the one shown here. The rail, not the frame, is what's attached to the wall. You must first screw the rail to the wall. If you're using the method I explain in this video, you'll use the included easy anchors. Here is the 100-pound easy anchor toggle bolt I supply with each frame and rail. The toggle portion of the anchor is shown in its retracted position. Here is the same anchor with the screw inserted deploying the toggle, which is essential for correct installation. To better understand how these anchors work and install them properly, I have created a mock-up of a wall so I can show what happens behind the drywall when these anchors are installed. Shown here is the front and back side of a typical 5/8 inch drywall with a typical wood wall stud. All installations start by first determining where you wish to place your frame and rail, and then where the top edge of each rail is to be located. Here I am showing a typical vertical piece of tape used for this purpose. Here I am showing a typical section piece of rail and marking the top edge where the rail is to be located. Once the rail placement is decided, a long 1/8 inch drill bit is inserted into the provided holes to mark where the anchor toggles are to be located. Once marked, the rail is placed safely aside and the 1/8 inch pilot hole is drilled. Immediately after drilling the 1/8 inch pilot hole, drill a 3/8 inch pilot hole through the 1/8 inch pilot hole just drilled. The manufacturer of the device has made the anchor claiming that no drill is necessary. While this is technically true, I find it makes for a ragged hole, and I do not recommend installing these anchors without pilot holes. Once the 3/8 inch pilot hole is drilled, it's a good idea to try and probe into the hole with your Phillips screwdriver to see if there's anything immediately inside the hole, such as a piece of electrical wire or similar object, which might prevent the toggle portion of the anchor from deploying. Once you feel sure the area inside is clear, remove the tape and insert the anchor and begin screwing it into the drywall. Here, the anchor is shown inserted into the 3/8 inch hole and pushed in just to the point where you begin to screw the anchor into the drywall. As you begin to turn the anchor into place, be sure to keep its central axis perpendicular to the wall. These anchors have very aggressive blade screw threads, so it is imperative that you screw slowly and straight, applying firm pressure. Here, the anchor is shown screwed halfway into the drywall. Screw the anchor in until it's flush with the drywall. You will see two arrows on the head of the anchor. The toggle of the anchor, when engaged, flips out at right angles to the anchor's central axis. You should always finish screwing the anchor in with these arrows pointing straight up and down as shown here. This requirement is to ensure the toggle can deploy in the event the anchor is inserted directly next to a wall stud as demonstrated here. As you can see, the arrows are pointing straight up and down as required, but the head or faceplate of the anchor is protruding out in front of the faceplate of the drywall by about a 1/16 of an inch. We want to eliminate this minor protrusion if possible, so the backside of the rail can be pulled up tight against the wall. When you finish screwing the anchor to where it is flush with the drywall, if the two arrows are not pointed straight up and down, carefully continue turning clockwise until they are. This will require continuing to turn the anchor no more than 1/2 turn. That is the situation shown here. Now you'll notice the arrows remain pointing straight up and down, but the two arrows have reversed from the additional 1/2 turn. The arrow which was at the bottom 6 o'clock position is now at the top at the 12 o'clock position, and the face of the anchor is actually recessed slightly below the face of the drywall. An additional 1/2 turn is fine in this situation, but should never be exceeded. Here is how the anchor looks behind the wall after being seated into the drywall, but before the toggle is deployed. Next, you want to deploy the toggle to make sure it can properly seat against the back of the drywall before you install the rail. To do this, insert the bolt into the anchor hole and simply push in until the bolt stops. This push deploys the toggle perpendicular to the anchor body. There should now be 1 inch of bolt protruding from the anchor head. If there's more than 1 inch, there might be some obstruction in the wall keeping the toggle from deploying. Assuming there is 1 inch of bolt protruding, insert your Phillips screwdriver into the bolt and turn the bolt until it's tight against the anchor as shown here. Now that you know all the anchor toggles deploy and can seat against the back of the drywall, remove each bolt and repeat the process only now through the rail to attach it to the wall. Insert the bolt through the rail and push the bolt deploying the toggle. With the toggle deployed, begin screwing the bolt, drawing the toggle to the back of the drywall. Continue turning the bolt, drawing the toggle to the drywall. Here, the toggle is shown screwed halfway along its track to the back of the wall. Continue screwing until you feel the bolt and rail tighten against the face of the wall. Here, the toggle is shown drawn up tight against the back of the wall and the rail tight against the front of the wall. All frames are designed to sit on their rails 1/2 inch from the wall along their entire height. If by chance you happen to locate a rail on a slight bulge in the drywall, the top plane of the rail might not end up perpendicular to the face plane of the wall, resulting in the frame not maintaining its parallel 1/2 inch distance from the wall over its entire height. It is possible to compensate for this if the bulge is not severe. Do this by loosening the attachment bolts and inserting small pieces of paper directly above or below the screw behind the rail as shown. Here I demonstrate placing pieces of paper under the bottom edge of the rail should the picture frame lean forward and the top rear edge of the frame is more than 1/2 inch from the wall. If the top rear edge of the frame is less than 1/2 inch from the wall, follow the same procedure, only add the shims behind the top edge of the rail. Continue this procedure of adding shims until once tightened, the rail's top plane is perpendicular with the wall and the back edge of the frame is parallel to the wall. When adjustments are completed, trim off excess paper sticking out above or below the rail with a razor blade or X-Acto knife. When all adjustments are complete, the apron crown can be installed. Here I show a section of apron crown installed onto the section of rail apron. I will cover this step more thoroughly a bit later. Now that you hopefully understand how the toggle bolts function, it's time to see how that relates to installing a typical frame and rail. You must first decide where you wish to place your frames and rails. Once you have determined that, you need to know where the line is which represents the top edge of the rail. Here I have a laser level showing that line. Start by placing vertical strips of blue tape on the wall, which are long enough to cross that horizontal line where you wish the rails to be placed. Place them far enough apart that you get a spread about as wide as the rail is long. If you haven't already done so, carefully separate the rail apron crown from the rail. With the apron crown removed, hold the rail up to the wall where you want it with a level on top. I'm using a laser, but all you need is an ordinary level to accomplish the same thing. Be sure to protect the rail top finish by placing tape on the bottom of the level if you think it might scratch the finish. If you have more than one frame and rail you're installing, it's a good idea to mark the placement of all rails before drilling holes for any anchor. Once locations have been marked, remove the rails and place them safely aside. If you have more than one frame and rail you're installing, it's a good idea to mark the placement of all rails before drilling holes for any anchor. Once locations have been marked, remove the rails and place them safely aside. Once all rail locations are marked and checked, with the help of a second person, return each rail to its wall location and using a long 1/8 inch drill bit, insert it into each of the rail holes provided and twist the drill bit to mark the hole's location on the wall. Remove the rail again, placing it safely aside. Now drill holes for each anchor as shown earlier, then install each anchor as shown earlier. Do not drill the holes with the rail in place. If you do, you will likely damage the rail with the drill chuck. With all the anchors installed, it's time to install the rail on the wall. Start by inserting a bolt at one end of each rail and screwing it in until you feel it start to become snug. Once you feel this, back the screw off a couple of turns to prepare for the other end of the rail. Align the other end of the rail, insert the bolt there and loosely tighten. Finally, make sure the rail is level and make the final tightening of all bolts to firmly secure the rail to the wall. Now that the rail is tight to the wall and level, it's time to do a test run on the frame. First, make sure the cam locks within the rail are in their open position. To do this, insert your Phillips screwdriver into the cam lock device, which is accessed through a hole in the front of the rail, which is in alignment with the corresponding hole on top of the rail. When the cam lock is open, the hole will appear as an empty black hole. If the cam lock is fully or partially closed, you will see a black open slot across the center of a silver circle. See the diagram that comes with your frame and rail for a sketch of this open position. If you see any obstructions, turn the cam lock counterclockwise until the hole appears black and empty. If the cam locks are in their open position, it's now time to put the frame on the rail and lock it into position. It's important to do this with an empty frame as shown here to be certain you have the rail prepared correctly and understand how the locking mechanism works. Carefully place the frame over the rail with the pins in alignment with the holes in the rail. Once you have them aligned, carefully lower the frame onto the rail. The bottom edge of the frame should now rest on top of the rail with no gaps. Now insert a Phillips screwdriver into the cam lock holes and rotate the cam locks about 1/4 turn clockwise to lock the frame to the rail. 1/2 turn is the maximum turn allowable in the cam's design, but 1/4 turn will likely be sufficient. Please don't over-tighten. Once the frame is securely locked to the rail and you feel you understand the frame installation and locking sequence, reverse the process to unlock the frame from the rail by turning each cam lock 1/4 turn counterclockwise. Then lift the frame off its rail. You are now ready to load the frame. With the frame resting face up on a flat surface, place the picture and matting onto the frame's 1/4 inch stage recess. Next, carefully place the glass on the frame with the top 2 beveled corners sitting on the stage shoulder just below the 2 side glass retaining clips. Carefully slide the glass underneath the side clips along the stage shoulder and finally slide the top center edge of the bevel glass under the top center frame glass clip. Note that the glass is not beveled on its bottom edge, so if you insert the glass upside down, it will not be possible to secure the glass under the top glass clip. Once everything is inserted, the picture, matting, and glass should be flush with the bottom of the frame. If the matting or mounted picture extend beyond the bottom edge of the glass or frame, the frame will not lock to the rail. Once you have everything in the frame, repeat the process you just practiced on the empty frame. The one exception is you will need to hold the fingers on one hand under the frame as shown here to keep the picture, matting, and glass from sliding out. Hold the loaded frame up to the rail as shown here, carefully aligning the pins with their corresponding holes. Then gently lower the frame, engaging the pins into their holes as you remove your fingers from beneath the frame. If the picture, matting, and glass slip down slightly, that shouldn't pose a problem as the pins should already be started into their holes. Simply push the frame down, which will push them back up to align with the bottom edge of the frame. Insert your Phillips screwdriver into the cam lock holes and lock the frame to the rail in the same manner you did when practicing the procedure. Insert the cam lock concealment pins in the front of the rail and gently push them to their stops. Place the rail apron crown into place on the rail apron as shown here and installation is complete.